and welcome to the Buckthorn Backpack and Tote Sew Along. We're going to be sewing through the Buckthorn Backpack and Tote pattern. I think I'm going to break the videos into 3 parts just so that we have manageable size pieces to work through. Since there is a backpack and a tote version, I just want to take our time and make sure that we cover all the things that need to be covered and not skip through anything that might be important depending on what bag you're sewing. So I'm just going to give you kind of a little walkthrough of a couple of the samples that I currently have, and and we can talk about fabrics and interfacing and then get into the cutting and all that good stuff in a little bit. Okay, so this is the tote version of the Buckthorn. It's got a little front pocket, it has the oval base and the zippered top. So that opens up, and then inside there's slip pockets, so those can be divided however you'd like. But that's kind of the rundown of this. I love mine for like a knitting bag. You can make it into a lunch bag. I like it for little kid gifts, and it's just an all-around good smaller size tote. And it doesn't require too much extra except for the zipper, so that would be the only kind of more difficult part. Otherwise, that would be like a great one to start with if you are kind of a newer bag maker. And here is the backpack version. This is made with a wax canvas. This is my bag that I use pretty much every day. I bike to work, and this is perfect for me. I'll put an extra pair of shoes in here in the winter. My lunch can fit sometimes, depending on what else I have. I put my extra bag in there, purse, and then my water bottle and all that good stuff. So the backpack has the same front pocket as the tote, and then there's what the back looks like. It's got the adjustable straps, and it also has the zippered top. And then inside mine, I don't have any pockets. Of course, you can choose to leave those out if you'd like. And then it just fits like a notebook size, maybe like a smaller binder really nicely. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what fits in there. Okay, so that's what that looks like. I'm 5'8", and that's kind of the idea of what that looks like. So that's the backpack version. We'll just go over talking about the fabric requirements and interfacing options and choices, and then we'll go into the supplies after that. So I'm going to be making 2, one tote and one backpack. So for my tote, I'm going to be using my Riverbend canvas on the outside, and this is the Riverbend Essex for the lining. So that'll be my tote, and then my backpack is also going to be Riverbend canvas and Essex lining. Now you can use any kind of quilting cotton for the lining, and of course any canvas for the exterior is great. You can also use wax canvas like I showed you in the backpack version. And then we can talk about if you wanted to substitute using like an Essex or a quilting cotton for the exterior. There's just a little bit of a different step you can take to make that work. Okay, so for this sample, this uses the fusible fleece interfacing as the interfacing for the exterior, and then the SF101, the fusible woven interfacing, is on the lining pieces. If you are using a wax canvas, you don't have to use any interfacing on the exterior pieces if that's the route you're going. And then for this, I substituted a canvas. This is just a plain cotton canvas as the lining, so I didn't use any interfacing on that. Okay, so there are, of course, different combinations that work really well for this bag. So the fusible fleece is like this. It looks kind of like a batting. I like using that. It's just really easy to use. And then of course the fusible woven, I use the Pellin brand. And then you could also substitute in a foam interfacing. So this is just a foam, and then you would base that to the pieces. Okay, so if you wanted to use a quilting cotton or a lighter weight fabric for the exterior, you can definitely make that work. You just have to make a little bit of changes. So I'm going to put up a picture of a quilted version I've made in the past. And what I do is I get a very simple and plain cotton canvas, and then I put a layer of batting, like a low loft cotton batting, and then lay my exterior fabric on top and make a little quilt sandwich out of that, do my quilting, and then I'll trim my pieces to size. So all of the pieces that I start out with, I'll just kind of rough cut them a couple inches bigger than what the cut size is in the pattern, and then make that quilt sandwich, quilt it, and then trim those to size. And that ends up being a really, actually very nice bag too. I think I gave one to a friend and I saw her using it and it looks great, and it's been several years. So if you want to go that route, it's a good one to take too, just as a little bit of extra work as far as the prep goes. Okay, so this is the backpack sample that I'll be making. This is the canvas exterior, the Essex lining. I've got my fusible fleece and then my fusible woven interfacing. And then a couple of the supplies that you're going to be needing is the hardware. So that looks like 2 sliders for the straps, 2 swivel clasps, and 2 triangle rings. So those are the backpack hardware components. And then for the straps, you'll need 4 yards of 1.5 inch wide webbing. I do have instructions on how to make them from fabric if you want to make straps from fabric, so you can check that out within the pattern, but I'm going to be using the webbing, just a really easy route to go. And then lastly, I have a zipper. This is zipper by the yard. I've already added my pull to it, and I cut this just to 17 inches. If you cut 16 inches, you'll be fine as far as this type of zipper installation goes. So that is that option for the backpack. And then I've got the tote materials here as well, the canvas, for the exterior, the Essex for the lining. I've got my 1 inch wide webbing for the handles. You'll just need 2 yards for the tote bag. So that's that. And then I've got my 14 inch zipper. So this is the zipper top for the tote. It's 14 inches long. This is a closed end zipper. These are just super easy to use, and I think they work well with this fabric. So that's that. Okay, so an important thing to note about the zippers is that you're going to want to make sure the width is 1.25 inches, no matter what kind of zipper you're using, 1.25 inches wide on that zipper tape. That's just going to help give you some extra space for when you're attaching the binding. So that's an important thing to note about the zippers. Okay, so now we've gone over the materials and what we need for each project. And I think next we're just gonna get to cutting, and I'm just gonna do a sped up version. But in the pattern, the tote and backpack are listed separately for their measurements, their cut measurements. And then there's a pattern piece for the base, the oval base of the pattern. Just make sure you're choosing the imperial or the metric measurements, and then you should be all set. Okay, so now I've got my backpack and my tote cut out, and I just want to keep my supplies for each one together. And I'm going to take everything over to my ironing board, and I'm going to fuse the fleece to the exterior pieces and the woven interfacing to the lining pieces. The only exceptions to that is that the front pocket of the exterior gets a fusible woven, not fleece, and the strap reinforcement strip from the exterior piece also gets the fusible woven, not the fleece. I also wanted to just give a little tip about the fusible fleece. I usually get everything situated and then I press from my fabric side. That way the iron has a little less to penetrate to get through to adhere to the fabric. So I press it from this fabric side instead of from the back of the fleece. Okay, so I'm just going to start now. I've got the webbing for my tote, and that's in the cutting instructions. You're going to see a little heading that says 1-inch wide webbing. So we're going to cut 2 pieces 36 inches long. So that's for the tote. And then for the backpack, it's a little bit different. That we're all going to cut from the 1.5-inch wide webbing. And you might want to label these just so you don't get them mixed up. But there's going to be one piece that's longer. That's called the front handle that goes on the front of your backpack. So label that if you're not sure you're going to get them mixed up. Then next is there's 2 strap holders that holds the little triangle rings for the hardware. And there's the hang loop. This goes on the back of the backpack. And then you're going to have 2 long pieces that are for the straps, the backpack straps. Okay, I'm just going to go over that with the samples. So this is the front handle, this front piece. These are the strap holders down here. The 2 strap holders, those are the triangle rings that they hold on to. This is what I call the hang loop, so it's a shorter piece. And then there's 2 strap pieces. Those are your backpack straps. So those are the items that you're going to cut from the 1.5-inch wide webbing for the backpack. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start getting this webbing prepared. And what we're doing here is giving it this nice rolled edge. This is going to make it a little more comfortable to hold and grab onto. So that's what we're going to be doing in this next step. Just pay attention to, again, the piece names. So I've got the front handle here. I'm just going to use the measurements in the pattern and mark off where those folds start. Okay, so this is the front handle for the backpack. These are my little markings. And what I'm going to do is just fold this webbing in half. And then I'm just going to stitch along that open edge there all the way to the next pin I have here. The hang loop for the backpack, again, you're going to find the measurements in the pattern of where to make those markings. Okay, so that's the same way. Just going to fold that over and then stitch between the 2 markings here. And for the tote, we're just going to take these handles Okay, so those are the handles for the tote. And we're just going to fold those over in half and then stitch along that edge from pin to pin for the 2 handles for the tote. Okay, so we've got everything cut and fused, and we prepared our handles, and I think that's a great place to take a break, especially if you're planning on sewing your backpack or tote in one stretch. Now is a good time to just stop and take a stretch or a break too. So this is the end of part 1. We've got all of our pieces cut. We've got the front handles, or the handles for the tote prepared. We've got 2 of those. We've got the front handle and hang loop for the backpack. If you're making the backpack, that's set to go. So next time we're gonna assemble the front and assemble the back, and then complete the outer shell of the bag, and then we'll move on from there. Yeah, I hope you'll join me next time for making your backpack or tote.